Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to Columbia Heights Public Schools Independent School District Number 13 School Board Meeting for Tuesday, August 13th, 2019. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask you to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome again. Laura, if you would please roll call.
Mueller. Here. Severson. Here. Larkin.
Here.
Lewis. Here. Samurai.
Here.
Palmer. Here. And Superintendent Kathy Kelly.
Here.
Thank you, Laura. Our mission statement, creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner, all belong, all succeed. Our core values are community, excellence, collaboration, integrity, respect, courage, and innovation. Next up would be the approval of the agenda as listed. Looking for a motion to move that forward, please.
So moved.
Lorian,
Second.
Natty, any discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Announcements, August 20th at 7 p.m. will be the groundbreaking for the Columbia Heights High School. Also August 20th at 8 p.m. there'll be a special called board meeting here in the community room. August 27th at 7 p.m. Regular school board meeting. August 29th at 6 p.m. be a groundbreaking for North Park. September 2nd, district office is closed for the holiday. September 3rd is the first day of school. September 10th at 7 p.m. regular school board meeting. And September 17th at 5:30 there'll be a work session here in the community room. Next up be correspondence. Superintendent Kelly, any correspondence this evening?
Mr. Chair and members, there's no correspondence to discuss tonight.
Okay, thank you. Next up is communication to the board. Citizen employee representatives. At this time, any citizen or employee may briefly address the school board. The board will listen to the brief remarks, ask clarifying questions, and if desired, request that administration follow up. The board will not take action at this meeting on requests presented at this time. Okay, we'll keep going. Next up is the consent agenda, which includes the personnel report, and then the minutes of the June 11th and 25th school board meetings, the June 18th school board work session, the July 9th and 23rd special call meetings. Motion to move the consent agenda forward.
So moved.
Molly?
Second.
Laura? Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries. Next up will be discussion reports and information items, reports from members of the board. Board members will report on board activities since the last regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education. I'm going to defer tonight, mostly based on just the agenda that we have, but we'll start with Laura, please.
Okay, well, I do have some things to report out because I attended the 9/16 board meeting and some of the new collaborations that they're working on. One is the social emotional support for school districts, and I believe they have a couple of cohorts they're going to be starting some new programming with, and like to see what happens and what comes up from there. But you know, that's definitely something that all the districts are finding a great need for. We actually have a new translation and interpretation service that we're going to be able to access as well. There's been a lot of issues with trying to get qualified interpreters, and we're hoping that maybe this is going to make things more available. You know, I'm sure that that's something that we can do. And they also started a new childhood program out in White Bear Lake called the Sunflower Program. So I'm excited to see what happens with the youngest learners, and I'm just going to tighten that up and say that's it for me.
Okay, thank you.
So.
Paula?
Yep. I had several meetings with community members, and I attended the 2 special called meetings in July.
Molly?
Yeah, we had fun at the Jamboree Parade. Just a few of us were there representing the school district, so thank you to everyone that joined us. And then the 2 special called meetings in July, and that's it. Thank you.
Thanks. Ed?
I'm also going to defer my report.
Okay. Lauren?
Also attended the special call meetings, and I attended the city council meeting last night for Columbia Heights City Council.
Okay, thank you. Next up is superintendent's report. Superintendent Kelly.
Mr. Chair, I'll be deferring on based on time for tonight, because I have such a long report. We haven't been together all summer, and I'm sure you don't want to be here till late, so
Okay.
I'm deferring.
All right, thank you. Next up, we're going to have an introduction of the Valley View principal, Jason Kuhlman.
Thank you, Chair Larkin, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. My name is Jason Kuhlman. I'd like to thank you for allowing me to lead Valley View. I'm excited. This is my first assignment out of St. Paul after 21 years, and being a classroom teacher for many years, a district support level math coach, building coach, and then administrator. So I'm very excited. It feels like I'm coming home. I've said that many times in my interviews, but it's the absolute truth. As I get to know more people around the community, meeting with different pastors, meeting staff, it feels like home. I come from a small town. This has the same feel. It's just awe-inspiring to know that you can be in such a diverse place, but have this just sense of belonging. And it warms my heart, but it inspires me. I'm looking forward to meeting all of the students, and I've met another one tonight, the second student that will be attending Valley View, and it's fun. Again, meeting members of the community, going out with the chief, and his meet and greet at the park. It just gives you a level of excitement that you know you have so much community support. And Valley View feels, just being in the school, that it's centered around that. And the number of teachers, we had a staff picnic. And I know creating relationships is critical, so I wanted a very informal way to start meeting them and their families. So we had them over at Sullivan Park last week, and it was amazing. My family came, my little puppy came, and it was just a great way to start meeting people and start building those relationships, because we're gonna have to leverage that. You know, knowing the scores that we have to increase them. That's my job. That's our duty, and that's our obligation to our students and our families. So this work is critical to me, that it's gonna go well, so. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll start by saying welcome, and then ask if there's any other board members that would like to grill him with questions. I told him he could relax up here tonight, so it'd be nice.
I'm kind of used to that in this room, just from the interviews.
Put my list away then.
Yeah, you have like, you're going to make him pull out a spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Again, thank you for the
very happy
opportunity.
to have you here. I look forward to
Thank
seeing
you.
what happens in
And
the future.
please, feel free to stop by and visit. The doors are always welcome.
Excited to see you leading the conga line at Convocation, so.
That's up for discussion there. That
Yeah.
might be tough.
At least in it, if not leading it.
Yeah.
I will be in it, and not leading.
For the viewing public, that actually happens.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we make him stick around for the whole meeting, or?
No, I don't think we
Okay. Official rule is you don't have to stick around. so-
Normal to leave.
Right.
Yeah.
Next up would be the bond referendum update. We got a host of people coming up. Host.
Good evening, Chair Larkin, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. Before we get started, I just want to introduce the people presenting today on each project. So we have Jen Garman. She comes from Cunningham Group, and she's one of the main architects on that project, and we'll be speaking to North Park. Mark Lenz from MLA Architects, and they were the main architect firm on the high school projects. And then Gary Zivko, we've seen a few times before, from Carl Sanderson, working directly with us through the process of getting things going with the projects. And then, of course, Denise Sundstrom at the end, Director of Finance. So this evening, as we start, always our mission, Columbia Heights Public Schools, creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner. All belong, all succeed. Our core values, obviously when we're talking about a referendum project, the community is highly involved. So community, collaboration, it takes a team, as you can see up here. integrity, doing what is right, courage to go out and do these projects and do what's best for kids and innovate in these projects to think of the future and what the kids need for the future within our schools. So this evening, this is just an informational update on these projects. We'll go over design. So each company will go over the design of the projects that they worked on through the renderings that they have. Carl Sanderson, Gary will go through budget and timelines on where we're at with those pieces. So with that, I'm going to pop out of here and turn it over to Jen.
Thank you. Chair Larkin and Superintendent Kelly, thank you for having us here tonight. We're excited to share with you the final design of North Park Elementary. It's been quite a joy to be on this team, collaborating with you all on this project. So this is a simple update, but feel free to ask questions at the end. This is the new entry to North Park. And on the left, you will see the new cafeteria addition and the new main entry on the lower main level, welcoming you in with a fun sculptural NP bench in green and blue. Here's a site plan of the just general site elements. So we will have bus traffic drop-off and pickup along the north in the gray, and then separate visitor and staff entry lot on the west. The existing pond that is there on the west side of the sloped hill is being engineered to no longer be a pond and to infiltrate water, and there's a series of rainwater infiltration systems and rain gardens within the project. Another exciting part of the project is the fact that we're using landscape as a learning environment and a learning tool. And so you'll see several rain gardens and learning gardens, as well as a new playground on the east side of the Learning Studio addition that's over there on the east side of the plan. The cafeteria is on the far northwest corner. Here's just a snapshot of the collaboration that we've had with your group on the learning gardens and working alongside you all to create these environments of discovery through rain gardens and edible landscape. And then on the far east, the desire to have a more natural sort of play system that is more about free play and encourages students to kind of be more creative. We have a series of playscapes for that also engage the hill. This is just the overall plan, which I think you're mainly familiar with. Kind of run through that quickly. The Learning Studio on the second floor being on that far east side, and then some additional renovation work kind of scattered throughout. North entry, just a close-up view where you can start to see the materiality of brick and glass. This is on the Learning Studio side, in the east side addition. Where you see the boulders and the kids playing, that's where the playground will be, but we didn't have all of that yet ironed out. This is the new safe and secure entry vestibule, and you'll see on the left there's a new bench. On the right is the access into the front office with the transaction window on the right. And as you come in, you're presented with color and some words of quality of who the school is as you kind of are embraced by North Park within this. And this is looking to the north at the cafeteria, which has a strong community focus as well. So here's a picture of the cafeteria, really bright, lots of views and daylight coming in here, the warmth of the wood. This is an Axon view of the early learning addition. And you can see there's 2 pre-K classrooms on the far left, and then there's 3 kindergarten classrooms with all joined by an early learning commons. A couple of views inside, again, daylight views, open collaborative, warmth of the woods and colors was really important within this design. Special ed is going to be located where the admin wing currently is. So there's a couple images here of both DCD, Setting 3, environmental or academic and behavioral classrooms, and then where the current front entry is, that's going to be converted into another special ed classroom. Learning studios, again, fostering collaboration and creativity and innovation. These spaces build off of the other learning studios that are within the school. And here are a few interior views. Again, lots of daylight, collaborative spaces, shared spaces between the classrooms. And that is it.
Anybody have any questions about North Park before we, so that entry is down below, right?
Yes, it's on level 1.
Down
So
below.
the current entry with the additional sped room, are we still going to maintain that entry for busing on that loop, or that's now? I saw there was plants there on the rendering, and I
It's-
thought,
it's
is it
eliminated.
gone?
Yes, the entry is eliminated, becomes a classroom, and another special ed classroom, and that bus loop area, or the current loop area drop-off, that's eliminated too and becomes grass.
Okay, so they're not going to, great.
Yep, so
No
it
more
becomes
cars
another
rolling down the
green
hill.
space.
Right.
Now, I think we'll switch over, first we have the budget conversation with Carl Sanderson. He'll kind of go through where we're at with that update on budget and timelines for North Park.
We're happy to report that everything went well on bid day. You can see just a quick highlight on the slides. The base bids came in under budget, and then we did have a bunch of some alternates that we added. Some hope to have the money to do them. So, and then with some LTF funding, we were able to do a little bit more since we're going to be there and make better use of your dollars while we're there doing construction. So base bids were on just a tad bit under budget. We're going to be doing second floor LED lighting upgrades. The park bench, or the kind of that structure on front, was one that we just held as an alternate just in case. We're able to afford that. The existing stage lighting will be upgraded. The art, science, and library, we're going to upgrade the HVAC and do the windows. And yeah, so that's just a quick report. Everything's on budget. So I'm looking forward to breaking ground here at the end of the month. So. Oh, and then quick on the timeline for this school year. There will be a lot going on the site. On the top left, you can see the buses will come in on the northwest corner. We're going to cut in a new access road there. And the intent of that is just to isolate the busing away from construction, so we're never crossing bus traffic. And the kids are isolated to the west side. The area in orange, that's the construction zone which will be in place throughout the school year. The blue boxes are the additions, and that work will start this fall. And we'll complete the additions by spring, and then next summer we'll be inside the building doing all the remodel and renovation work, and complete by the end of the summer for next school year.
Any questions on budget and/or phasing with the project?
Will the parking be shifted to the street in the time being then?
Yeah, there will be minimal parking on site. We have talked with the city, and that the staff will be parking on the street. City's okay with that?
Yes.
Don't know if the staff will be, but it's a year of heartache, but it'll be great once we're done.
And we'll have the vans and the special ed busing up on top, dropping off, because the lower bus drop-off area is lower, and we have to go upstairs in order to have, for the kids, when they get off the buses, they'll have to come upstairs to the front door. Because obviously you can see all the doors on the north end, on the east side, are closed off and in the construction zone. So we have a formulated plan for that, and when the teachers come back, we'll discuss that with them and have them involved in that conversation. And but we think we have a handle on that one, and letters will go out to the surrounding homes there, letting them know, just in case they don't already know.
Anybody else have any questions on that?
If not, then we'll shift over to the high school. So, Mark, I can walk you through it.
It's fine, yeah, I'll let Ryan clip through them. So we have a couple projects that MLA is working on. This is the band room addition. The closest building portion was the massing of the building.
Sorry.
Yep. Yeah, talk a little quicker.
Yeah.
Didn't know we were going to go that fast.
It's a
but-
hint.
So it's a two-story addition. So the upper part, you can see there's clear story windows, bringing natural light in throughout the building. But it's up high enough, there'll be controls to keep the sunlight controls. There's a transformer to the right there that we're going to be, it's part of what we need to do, so that's been located there as well. Reworking the sidewalks. This is a tilt-up precast wall. They're doing that right now, making the panels, but it has a brick facing to it, which will match the building. So it's economical, but it gets it done quick, and you get the matching of the brick. This is the interiors of the band room. Again, the clear story windows. This would be very similar to your adjacent performance center you have now, as far as the look, the exposed ceiling and the lighting and so forth. The taupe or the gray are the acoustical panels up there. The brown in the back is the instrument storage cabinets. You can see the line in the floor. That's that kind of representing like a stage floor, like you again have in the performance studio throughout there. Another project we're working on is your existing theater. Been going through the fabrics for the seats. The seats are being replaced. You can see there's some new carpeting going in there. Other lighting, acoustical things as well. And we'll get to more detail as Brian. This is the performance stage. We're redoing the stage now. There'll be new steps coming up, thrusted up there. To the right is an exit stairs. Again, we had to look at exiting the stage. That's very important there. Also, handicap accessibility we need to deal with. And off to the left, you'll see a little white or a box off to the left of the stage. That would be a lift kind of incorporated for handicap accessibility. This is what we call an audio porch, or in the old days, sound booth. This is where we have them projected. This is an open space. The controls will be still locked, so people can't get to it. There's a cover that closes it. The best way to have this is it's open to the theater so they can actually hear the sound instead of being back behind. A lot of times you may have glass and you open the glass. This is kind of the preferred way to have that. And with your existing conditions, that worked out the best to have that kind of project into the seating area. There's makeup rooms here, two different ones we're doing here. There's new mirrors, cabinets, and flooring being done in the two makeup rooms, upgrading those. The other project work on is your gym stage. So what we're doing here is there's lighting and sound systems being upgraded for the theater stage, their performance stage, as well as this. You can see how the stage projects out. That's a adjustable. It'll lift up, kind of like a Murphy bed, keep calling it, but it'll lift up and free up the gym space. So it's motorized. There's a lot of structural motorized things I had to do, and it's kind of a custom projection of the stage that'll fold up when it's not being used. But there's other work being done as well, like I said, the sound and theater systems as well.
So that's just kind of an overview of the projects itself and where we're at in the final design. As construction has begun here, so demo has begun at the high school. It was a little bit ahead of the North Park projects. So now Gary can kind of step through the budget.
Yeah, just another successful bid day on this one. We came in under on that, and as you can see, all the alternates, a little bit of capital dollars or levy, or LTFM applied to it to take the alternates, again, remodeling the existing band room. So where we're moving out of, we're going to take the risers out of that and kind of spruce that place up so it's a functioning classroom. Upgrading the main stage curtain and rigging, upgrade the gym stage curtain and rigging, refurbish the gym stage floor, upgrade the auditorium acoustical panels on the back of the house, getting those fixed up, upgrade the house lighting, so all the house lighting will now be LED lighting. A video recall system for auditorium and sidewall projection. So happy to say we're able to get all the wants on the list, and Again, we're getting started with construction. The addition will be done by the first of the year, and then we'll also be working in the auditorium throughout the fall and winter. I'm handing that over just after Christmas. So at the high school, we hope to be out of your hair by the first of the year, so.
Functional and being used by students?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
And that includes the gym too, not just the auditorium
Yep.
by the first floor?
Correct. Yep. Yeah, and I know we touched on the Murphy stage, but it'll be quite the thing to see once it's operating. It's somewhat unique. It'll be the first time I've done one, but it'll be great. And just on the construction zone, we have it fenced off back there. Now everything in orange will be construction zone for the fall and winter. You see the band addition located there. So again, we're in the back of the building with access to the tennis courts, and then access to the fields via around the construction zone and around the tennis courts. So again, just it's a nice spot. We're kind of tucked in the back, away from everyone, so I don't see any logistical issues. But yeah, any questions on staging or construction?
We have been working with the high school on logistics of having workers in the buildings during the school day, working with Carl Sanderson and making sure that they have identification on them. So we've worked with how we're going to have them identified as, one, gone through the safety training, they're supposed to be on site, and then two, identified as workers that are working here, so on this project. So since they're required to wear hard hats on site at all times, no matter where they are, they have identifying stickers on their hard hats, so it doesn't get in the way of their work.
Director Hennigan, just to clarify again, for as far as the completion date and the punch list and all that kind of stuff, really looking at the end of January, aren't we?
Yes, yeah. So we put, up here it says remodel band, theater, gym stage complete January 2020. The reason it says January 2020, because it will be in that January timeframe. And we do expect February that building is, or that addition, the auditorium, and that gym stage is ready to go for kids, 100%.
Anybody else? Question?
I was just wondering how, what type of arrangements are being done for the performing arts during this period when both the gym as well as the auditorium are no longer available.
Yeah, I know that there's been a lot of discussion about that. Our Activities and Athletics Department has been working hard on making arrangements for that. We do have, I'll just use one example, we do have a partnership with Northwestern for the varsity basketball team to play their home games this season that the high school and athletics and department has been, and activities department has been working on. So they're definitely working on shuffling the schedule if they can, utilizing other buildings if they can, and where ultimately we can't, looking at other people we can partner with, like Northwestern.
Anybody else? Okay. That it?
Thank you. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Thanks for coming in, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Looks great.
You guys can go ahead and go. It's just, yeah. Thank you.
Want me to stay here?
Thanks.
Okay, next up will be the North Park bids.
Okay, North Park first. All right, Chair Larkin, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. This evening, I have Gary Zivko and Director Sundstrom, Director of Finance, Jeannie Sundstrom with me to talk about the North Park Elementary Addition updates bid process. And, you know, obviously we just had a presentation talking about that. You saw the numbers, but this is just kind of a formal information item because we'll have to approve the bidders that we're recommending approving for this project. Again, our mission, Columbia Heights Public Schools, creates worlds of opportunity for each and every learner. All belong, all succeed. Core values are really exactly in line with the last presentation of community, collaboration, integrity, courage, and innovation as our focus. This is just an informational item tonight. This will come back as an action item at the next board meeting. So, with North Park is a very big project. So there's a long list of bidders, and as Gary said, bid day was a good day for us. We had a lot of contractors on site. Bids came in well for us. Obviously, with the environment out there and a lot of projects going on, a lot of people are busy. We had a high level of concern. Our timing of when we were starting construction was, our hope was going to be our saving grace, as other school districts around us were seeing bids come in much, much higher and over budget. So we were very happy with that. And in this project, I have the letter. I'm just kind of scrolling through from Kraus Anderson recommending the following lowest responsible bidders in their total bid amount. There was only one exception. Kraus does vet all of the bidders just to make sure that they really didn't miss something and that their bids are valid bids. And there was one that was a low bid for painting. And
Yeah, as an example, when we open up the painting bids, there's six bids. Someone was about 20% low than all the other ones, so there seemed to be something amiss there. So when we scoped them out, it became apparent that they had left off a good chunk of work. So at that point, we let them, send us something in writing saying there was an error made, and at that point, release them from the bid and move to the next one.
And I point that out just as an emphasis that, that we do vet the bidders. So when we are recommending the low bidders, they are going through those bidders and really verifying that they've bid appropriately. So I won't read through all of them, but so these were all of our bidders and all of our areas or scope of work. And and our alternates for second floor LED lighting, the front entry benches, upgrades to lighting on the existing stage, and then the HVAC and windows in art, science, and library. Total contract for all base and bids is $9,049,989. So again, as we reported, very happy with where they came in, and very fortunate that the LTFM capital dollars and capital projects levy dollars, and at North Park we have that safety grant, security grant dollars of $444,000, that we can combine those dollars and do more now instead of trying to bring those extra projects in a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road. So this will come into the next meeting as a action item for approval. Anybody
have any questions about that? Comments? Okay.
Thank you. Next and finally is the Columbia Heights High School gym stage remodel bid. Chair Larkin, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. Again, our mission, Columbia Heights Public Schools, creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner. All belong, all succeed. And again, our core values: focus, community, collaboration, integrity, courage, and innovation. Again, this is just an informational item, as the last one was, as a results for our bid opening on August 6th, and this will come at a later board meeting at the end of the month for approval. Again, I will pull up the recommendation letter from Kraus Anderson. So on bid day, we had one bidder. We did have an estimate for this work prior to our bid process, and that estimate was slightly over what the bid came in. So we weren't surprised with the number. I'm happy it came in a little bit less. Obviously we were hopeful for more bidders. There was others that were interested, but they didn't, on bid day, they didn't actually.
Yep, we had three people that expressed interest and had the plans, but ultimately came down to one. They're a very reputable company. They do a ton of work in the cities. It's again, this was a unique project, you know, having a Murphy bed like that, or the Murphy bed stage is pretty unique. So, yeah, we're content and happy with the bid and the company that we got.
So again, this is an information item, and it'll come to the next board meeting as a action item.
Question?
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up is the E12 Student Rights and Responsibility and
Clean up.
It's all right.
Good evening, Chair Larkin, members of the board, and Superintendent Kelly. This evening, I'm here to present information on the Student Rights and Responsibilities Handbook. Our mission is creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner. All belong, all succeed. And this presentation will focus on the core values of excellence and integrity. This is an informational update. I'd like to provide you some information on our first year of implementation of the Student Rights and Responsibilities Handbook, and then share some minor changes that we've made for the updates, and I will bring it back on August 27th for approval. So this is the new cover. Great new shot from our communications department. The purpose of the handbook is so that there's easily accessible and comprehensive information for families. And also, we needed to have some consistency among schools that was lacking in the past. And so, if you recall, all of the principals, other administrators, and district folks got together. We really perused and reviewed other districts' examples and discussed the needs from our district that we'd heard from families, heard from students, and just from our own experiences, and put together this handbook. So throughout the school year this year, my copy, it was all tabbed up. You know, anytime someone would call, and I wanted to keep track of what we were using, what parts of the book we were using most, and then anytime there was like a little thing that may need to be updated. For example, all of the forms, there's the calendar and other forms that had the actual year on them. Those have been updated to the new year. The Department of Education had some required documents that need to be in there, so those are kind of updated. And then any new things that we needed to share out with the entire district. For example, free breakfast for all students, which we're excited to have in our district this year. So those are some of the pieces. There's different sections in the book. So the first one is really around the different rights and responsibilities. The behavior matrix, which was a really good guide for assistant principals, and deans last school year. And you know, I would get phone calls and we could talk through the matrix, and that was used quite a bit. Of course, outlining the rights of students with disabilities, and then glossary of terms, because there's so many acronyms in the field of education. Those all had hyperlinks in them to different state statutes and school board policies as well, so the online version was live and interactive. Here's an example of some incidents that may occur. It's all in alphabetical order, and then the different ranges. And each level 1, 2, 3, or 4 is explained in the handbook as well. As I mentioned, the calendar, of course, we had to update that, but it's nice to have that one-page calendar at your fingertips as well. There's a whole, section 3 is all on parent information. Now, the schools will be sending out school-specific parent information in their handbooks, in their newsletters, and on via email, or the different ways that they send school-specific information, like pick up and drop off at their site. So the pieces that are included in this apply to all schools, but if each school has a specific item, it's not there. So the visitor policy, for example, parent view, student view, general information. For parents, all kinds of different things, lockers, health services, where do I go for those different pieces, the meals, cafeteria information, as I mentioned before, free breakfast for all students this year, technology use and media release forms. Section 5 is attendance. So again, really important information on, as you know, the state of Minnesota has a higher level of accountability for schools this year, or this last school year and in the future for attendance. So really making sure that we're communicating that out to families this way. And while activities and athletics department have their own handbook, we do reference it in this handbook briefly and where parents can go and find more information. So distribution, we're hoping to have this handbook ready to go at the beginning of the school year. So we've got the list of, we're going with the youngest siblings in each family, so they would get the copy home. We'll once again ask families to sign that they did receive it, and we keep record of that, just to make sure that we can keep track of that. And then, of course, any new enrolling families after the start of the school year would get the handbook at the placement center along with the calendar and other information. So those are some of the brief updates. Like I said, wordsmithing, some of the forms, updating those, and any new required pieces from the Department of Education, and the cover photo. Other than that, largely the same. If you have any questions.
So I have a question. This may be a little bit off topic, but I was wondering about the behavior matrix. Do we have any data on how it's changed our referral rates or what it's done for students of color, things like that?
So each month, last school year, we met in a variety of ways to discuss that very thing. So the district discipline assessment team was a new team, and it was assistant principals, deans, Director Hennekens, Director Fry, also our MARS coordinator. So we really did look at how are we entering data into the system, but also, for example, we pulled some examples of office referrals and talked through different scenarios about how at each school would you approach that, how would you resolve that issue, and we looked at the data every single month and set targets to make sure that we're reducing disproportionalities. Last year, we, by and large, learned a lot of the new systems, the new state reporting systems. There were some changes that needed to be made from the state, coming down to us from the state level in DERS. So we worked on that as well. So it's definitely something we have our pulse on. So that team would meet for an hour every month and discuss those items and review them. For example, we would how to pull the data, how to analyze the data, which data to analyze. You can slice it and dice it in so many different ways. And then our discipline supervisor would then present to the E12 administrative team the same information in a little bit more of a condensed time frame. So we were looking at it with different groups. And as we move forward with our new strategic plan, that'll be something we'll be reporting out on.
And I appreciate all of that, but the thing I'm really wondering about is, do we know anything about the impact of having that matrix?
Sure.
Is it like standardizing it, making it in a table, that type of thing? Does that make it more consistent, or does it make it more like a zero tolerance type thing without inserting judgment?
Mm-hmm. So the folks that use the matrix this year, by and large, were at the school sites, and they did report back to me. I asked the very same question, like, if we put this book together, we did all this work, how's it going? Overwhelmingly, the APs, deans, and principals report that they did use that book. They were able to either use it directly with parents in having a conversation around an incident, or use it for their own reference. Or if they would call up the district level, our response is always, well, let's pull out the handbook and let's take a look at what did we say. The handbook does allow for, it's pretty specific what a level 1 offense is, level 2, level 3. One thing that we did make standard across the district is there were 0 suspensions, out-of-school suspensions last year for any kind of subjective category. So if a student was, labeled as being disruptive in class, we weren't allowing suspensions, and no one was suspending students for that. And that it was a pretty big shift in the district. So in terms of that piece around equity and making sure that we're being objective, we definitely saw change in that area.
And the change was more in consistency. Yes. Across the board, and it was an interesting summer to get people to agree on things, on what would look like at each of the schools. That was pretty masterful discussions in and of themselves. But I think the long-term game is really getting people in there and are we walking the talk? What does this look like? It's kind of like a disciplined PLC. So we feel like we're more consistent.
And while consistency is very important, especially with the equity issue, it's also important to make sure that these tables or matrices don't stifle our judgment. And so that was another thing that I was wondering about, because that would affect issues of equity.
We also have to display to the Department of Human Rights that we have such a matrix and that we are having those discussions. So it's a cutting edge of how we're doing that. And they also look at these things because we report them in on that way. So, yeah. It serves multiple purposes.
Okay, thanks, Zena. And the SSA grants, Zena and Tara.
Good evening, Chair Larkin, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. We're here tonight to update you on Titles 1, 2, 3, and 4 and what they're looking like for 2019-2020 school year. So our mission of creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner and all belong, all succeed really does drive our work with our title funding and activities, and you'll see that as we go through each title, how we really are trying to create those opportunities for our students. Our core values that we're focusing in on are collaboration, integrity, and innovation. Tonight we're here as an informational item, but you'll see us again on August 27th as we bring it back for approval of our preliminary title funding for the 2019-2020 school year. So Title I, we'll start there. And the purpose of Title I really is to ensure that all children have a fair and equal opportunity to obtain a high-quality education, and also for that support for them to reach the academic standards and achievement on the state testing. And our key activities for all the titles are determined by a team, and we really do check in and monitor these activities throughout the year. So we bring a team together at the beginning of the year, including administration, district office, other staff members, parents. We've had a lot of students the last couple of years, especially in secondary. We had a couple elementary join us and really help determine our goals and what activities we want to focus in on. And then we bring it back. We bring it back to our World's Best Workforce and to other teams to really monitor and look at adjusting those pieces. So the key activities for the 2019-2020 school year include the list here, which are academic support, including elementary science, math and reading intervention for elementary and secondary, and supplemental materials throughout the district. And there's a huge focus in Title I on family engagement. And this has brought about a lot of great opportunities for our families and staff, including our elementary liaisons are funded out of, part of it are funded out of Title I. We have a lot of family engagement activities at the different buildings funded out of Title, including our home visits that are happening at some schools. And then there's also a piece of Title I where we work with Dr. Fry and we support students who are homeless or in foster care. So we work with Dr. Fry and his team on determining different supplies or different years it might be activities that we could do to support them. And part of Title I is we offer it to our non-public schools in the district. And any schools that take us up and say, yes, we'd like to accept it, we work with them on their Title I funding. This year, Immaculate has said yes, Immaculate Conception. So we work with them on hiring a Title I teacher for their students that qualify for Title I, as well as providing materials. Here are the preliminary numbers or projected numbers. They sometimes change, even though MDE will give us a number at the beginning of the year. Sometimes it changes in a few months. So these are preliminary allocations. Our 2020 preliminary allocation has gone down from last school year, and this is common throughout the state of Minnesota. Title I is determined by free and reduced, and it's determined first off at the federal level by looking at the state and where you rank in the country, and Minnesota is doing better off than other states. So our state allocation went down, and in turn our district's allocation went down as well. Most of our Title I funding, as you can see here, are spent on staffing. We really do believe by having the teachers in there to support our students and supporting our programs. So the majority of our Title I is there, but also includes the other activities that we mentioned earlier about the family involvement and the homeless and foster care support. Title II is focused in on professional development and supporting our staff with increase in student academic achievement through improving teacher, principal, staff quality. And once again, the key activities are determined by that team. And this year, our key activities include coaching in literacy math, as well as mentorship. We'll be having a new mentorship program this year that aligns with the new Minnesota rules around the mentorship program. So we're excited about that. And professional development sessions. We're excited about a lot of things happening this year, including professional development around professional learning communities. We just started some of that work today and really had a great conversation and got excited in the work. And so we're excited to continue that with our staff as they return in August and then throughout the year again. And then Title II is also supporting Immaculate Conception this school year with activities in professional development. Our Title II funding is there. It did go down a little from last year, as did others. We did have a carryover from the previous year from a staffing change that happened mid-year, so we were able to carry over that change into this year. And the majority of our funding for Title II is spent either on staffing or on professional development activities. So bringing in consultants, bringing in coaching, sending teachers to different, or admin to different opportunities that are happening around the state. Zena and I collaborate with Title III, as she's our English language learner coordinator. And so I do more of the budget side of it, and she does more of the activity part of it. So I'm going to let her talk a little about Title III.
So Title III is focused on ensuring English language learners and other immigrant students attain English language proficiency. So it's really that growth towards English proficiency over a 7-year period, which is what research shows, and that's what's allotted. Title III is a lot more prescriptive on what the funds can and cannot be used for. It's not really open to much discussion other than it's around teacher support, so high quality instruction for English learners, staff development, and family involvement. So those are the 3 main categories. And so of course we have utilized the funding for coordinating, staff development as required. Summer reading program is one of our summer courses that we offer where teachers go into the homes and do a home visit, read with students, leave books at the home, and come back the next week. So they're constantly, it's like a library at your doorstep, right, with a reading instruction built in. And then family involvement. So our liaisons are partially funded through this, and then also the required English learner family nights that we have at each school. It's a much smaller budget than the other titles, so just over $100,000. With the carryover, we're looking at $150,000 this year, and you can see how it's broken down. We also are required to offer Title III support to our non-public schools. The non-public schools in the district have opted to not participate in Title III. It does require extensive screening and testing and record keeping, and so they're utilizing their Title I funds to support all of their students.
And the last title we're going to discuss is Title IV, and I know Zena has brought this to the board earlier this spring about Title IV, and we're excited that's come back. And Title IV, the purpose really is to improve student academic achievement by really looking at that well-rounded education. So they have 3 main components. They have the well-rounded education, activities that support safe and healthy students, and the enhancement of technology to improve academic and digital literacy. So the key activities for this school year that we will focus in on Title IV under the well-rounded category. And Zena mentioned Title III is very prescriptive. Title IV also is. They give you percentages for each amount. It has to be at least this, can't be more than this. So we really did have to make sure everything fit into there. For under well-rounded, we're going to support literacy through the arts at the elementary level to really look at that achievement, academic achievement through a different lens. Support accelerated learning and support STEM subjects. Under safe and healthy students, we are supporting physical education and health education. They have new standards in the last couple years, and a lot of things have come about with that, so there's some opportunities there for us to support that. And also, as mentioned earlier, the importance of social emotional learning, including restorative practices. So we really have a focus this year on social emotional learning as well as academics, and a piece of that will be used for that professional development or resources that we can provide to schools. Under technology, we're looking at professional learning tools as well as professional development and the use of technology in STEM subjects. And then when checking in with our non-publics in the districts, Immaculate has said yes to Title IV. So we'll be supporting them with that as well this year. Title IV was a little interesting this year because we received our funding for the 2018 school year and the 2019 school year, the last two school years in the spring. So we got all of the funding in one, and we either had to spend all the money in the spring and use it up right away for that school year or carry it over. And after checking in with Immaculate and consulting with our stakeholders, we've carried it over. So received our 2020 allocation, but then we have our 2018 and 2019 allocation in there as well. So this year we have more money that we probably wouldn't in the future in terms of allocations. And we're excited about that because I think we really can support the different pieces well in terms of well-rounded and safe and healthy. So the breakdown of how that works out, including the non-public mandatory required set aside, is there as well. This was a quick overview of all the titles that we have this school year, and I know Zena has brought them up earlier in the spring as well. But we'll be coming back then in August 27th for approval of the preliminary ESSA title funding for the 2019-2020 school year. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions? Okay.
Sounds like a lot of work, thanks.
Yeah.
Actually, I do have one question.
Yeah.
How many schools in the area can participate in these title programs with us?
We only have two. We have Immaculate, and the MDE determines it and sends it to us,
Okay.
the two non-publics. And for title, especially Title I, is based on free and reduced. So they look at the number of free and reduced students. Immaculate Conception, and then Little Voyagers, which is a pre-K kindergarten program. And we've sent them all the materials as well, and they denied Title I, II, III, and IV.
Okay.
So we check in each year with them. We send them notices.
I was just kind of curious as to
Yeah.
how much more bookkeeping needs to be done. So that's pretty much it. Thanks.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is the LEA authorization.
Chair Larkin, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. I'm here to follow up to our previous presentation about the title programs with our LEA statement for authorizing the title grants. So of course, our mission is creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner. All belong and all succeed. And our core values that we'll focus on this one is really integrity and excellence. As mentioned previously, all four titles do require a significant amount of work in terms of anytime federal funding is flowing through the state level, we are audited every year. We have to make sure that all of our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted, and that we're keeping track of all of the pieces. So that's something that Tara Tucker and I do together in collaboration. We are constantly checking on the expenditures, on the budgets, working with stakeholders. And so I'm going to read the blurb here for the official authorizing. The local Board of Education of Columbia Heights Public Schools must authorize personnel at a monthly meeting to act as the local education agency, or LEA, representative. The LEA representative ensures the school district maintains compliance with the appropriate federal statutes, regulations, and procedures, and acts as the responsible authority in all matters relating to the review and administration of the Title I, II, III, and IV plans. The recommendation is that Director Stenvik, myself, be the LEA representative for the 2019-2020 school year. So this is a role that I've had over the last few years, and as I said, we go into the system, double check, triple check the budgets, the narrative, and then do approve or assure, we send an assurance to the state of Minnesota that we are indeed complying with the rules and regulations. So this is just an information item. August 27th, I'll be back to seek approval.
Any questions?
I have a couple questions, and I had them on the last one, but I just didn't get them out fast enough. So as long as we're on a similar topic,
I digress slightly. With the sharing of the title funds with the non-public schools, is the dollar amount we get determined before or after they decide to be involved?
The dollar amount is determined by the state of Minnesota through, it's called the SERVS system. And so it's based on the number of students that they have. And so whatever the per pupil funding unit that we use for our titles, so say we have, I'll do easy math. Say it's $100, which it's more than that. And they have, 2 students, and they would get $200.
Okay, and
It's
so
predetermined.
when, like, ICS's students join in, that number grows proportionate to the number of students they have?
It's dependent upon the number of students that they have.
Okay.
And then that is all in the system. So they would have had to have completed the proper paperwork in terms of the free and reduced forms.
Okay.
And all of that is submitted and properly enrolled. And then some of the complicating factors is that throughout the school year, all of the districts, we're sending letters back and forth among the districts because there's choice and open enrollment. And so if there's so the different resident districts are sending letters and getting reimbursements all across the district. So it's.
So it's confusing. And so when the money, so it seems the money for the titles flows through us and then goes to ICS, is that how it works? Or the
All
government?
expenditures are done here at our district
Okay.
level. So the administrator at Immaculate Conception needs to get approval. We have the responsibility for the titles. So they don't make any expenditures. We do it all here. So we have to, there's a required consultation meeting that we do every June or July or early August with the administrator at Immaculate Conception. Once they have sent us the letter saying, yes, we accept the funding, and we go through a required plan. So all the signatures, so there's different things that we need to submit.
So we monitor their compliance, in a sense, or the state monitors? I'm getting a nod from the back row.
Right, so for example, if they want to utilize Title II funding for a professional development, it needs to meet certain criteria. So if it needs to meet the budget. So there have been times where it was an out-of-town conference, say, this is a couple years ago, and it was going to exceed the budget. So we were able to, that funding was only able to cover, say, half of it, and we do those expenditures.
Okay.
The state's very, can you tell, they're very specific that they don't get to spend the money on their own.
Okay. And then our charter schools, they're public schools, so they control this themselves.
Correct. We're not involved in, none of the charter school title flows through the district center.
Okay, thanks.
I hope I answered your question.
Okay, cool. That's it on that. Thank you. Next up would be the employee handbook.
Thank you, Tara.
Chair Larkin, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. In your board packet was the 1920 Employee Handbook, which has been reviewed by our district attorney. Tonight's just an information item. It'll come forward at the next board meeting for approval. And this year is probably some of our most minimal changes to the handbook in the last couple of years. So just include updating the mission statement, review to make sure no policies were changed, and just make sure they reflected the handbook. We had a little bit of clarifying information on workers' compensation about the waiting period and getting reimbursed and how that all works. Background check language, there's anybody who does like preschool or a venture club, there's a Department of Human Services background check we have to run now too. And then we changed how people submit demographic changes. So again, it's very minimal changes. It'll come forward at the next board meeting, but if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Anybody have any questions at this point?
Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks, Lindsay. Next up would be Children's Therapeutic Services and Supports application.
All right, good evening, Chair Larkin, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. I'm here to talk about Children's Therapeutic Services and Supports, or CTSS, an application that we're hoping to apply for in the future. I'll be sharing more information shortly. So our mission here in Columbia Heights is creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner. All belong, all succeed. And the focus this evening is collaboration as well as innovation. And so what I'm asking here is that today is an informational session with the opportunity to come back in 2 weeks for school board approval for us to apply for a Children's Therapeutic Services and Supports, CTSS, to be a school provider. Currently, we are at the level 1, where we provide, when we do a special education evaluation, we ask the Department of Health through medical assistance to get reimbursed for those hours that our school psychologists spend on doing those evaluations, and thus allowing us to provide more money and services for special ed students. And so what I'm asking here, or will be asking in 2 weeks, is to apply to be a CTSS2, which allows us to provide this service at our anchor program therapeutically, and allows us to provide some mental health services. So just a background of what CTSS is from the definition, and this is from the Department of Health, that it is a flexible package of mental health services for children who require varying therapeutic and rehabilitative levels of intervention. It's also delivered through a variety of different modalities and a combination of services designed to reach measurable treatment outcomes defined by the student's treatment plan. So it allows us to provide those services here in the anchor program specifically. So what is provided with this updated application, as we are hoping to go from a CTSS1 school provider to a CTSS2, we would be able to provide diagnostic assessment under the mental health services, doing functional behavior assessments, treatment plans, psychotherapy for individual, group, and family students, as well as skills therapy for individual, group, and family. Some other supports that can happen is that they can consult to support students in the anchor program with the staff there. They can also do staff training and then attend IEP meetings if needed. Where would these services and supports occur? The CTSS would apply to students in the 6 to 12 anchor program at this time. These services would support students who are in special education or students who have been referred to child study teams within their schools who are in the anchor program. Currently, we're going to be using for the next year Lee Carlson. They've agreed to be our community partner. We need to have a partner who provides this for CTSS2 in providing these services noted previously. There is also a level 3, but that's where we would take that ownership and staff that. And that may be something in the future, but at this time, we're looking to apply for kind of the next step in the CTSS kind of hierarchy of providing those services. Again, like I noted earlier, that we are currently a CTSS1 school provider, and with school board approval, we'll be hoping to apply for a CTSS2 school provider, where we are going to be collaborating with our community partner to provide these services at the anchor program at CA in Columbia Heights High School. Thank you.
Questions?
I have a question. So will this, moving to the level 2, allow us to continue to provide the services of our students in the anchor program?
Yes.
Okay.
A couple questions. What goes into, is it just an application, or does it come with additional training? What goes into that?
So we have an application. Part of that is our organizational chart. It's also Lee Carlson's organizational chart. We apply. There's also a training that administrator, myself, needs to attend, and they have one October 16th that I'm hoping to attend.
And I as we see kind of the area of mental health, children's mental health really enter into the schools in a big way now. I really applaud the attempts to become better trained and offer more options. Is there a way we're thinking even beyond 6 to 12? Will this benefit the younger learners at all?
It could. It depends on how what we might want to do with the CTSS2. We could also use it in some of our setting 3 behavior programs and providing therapy in there to support some of those mental health services. Right now, I think I'm looking at Anchor and then seeing what our next steps are for the future. But yeah, that would be something we could look at too.
Great, thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, see you on the 27th.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. EXU membership.
Chair Larkin, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly, I'm here to discuss the Metro Educational Cooperative Service Unit membership. For short, we call it Metro EXU. So from here on out, that's what I'll refer to it. Our mission is creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner. All belong, all succeed. And this presentation focuses on excellence and innovation. So Metro EXU has been in existence since 1976. This is a cooperative group that, as you'll see, provides a lot of different services to many school districts around town in the metro area. It helps us to reduce costs for different programs. So some of the services that they provide are professional development in multiple areas. They're able to leverage the memberships of many districts and bring in high-quality professional development, national folks and whatnot. Support for student services and special education. The Praxis Para-Pro assessment for our educational assistants, they must pass that. Success Beyond the Classroom programs for students, so I'll talk a little bit more about those in a minute. District cooperative purchasing, so we can purchase all kinds of different items, furniture and technology and whatnot at a reduced rate. Environmental health and safety programs, and then new for us, statewide partnership for concurrent enrollment. So our Anoka Ramsey partnership, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So our participation last year, our participation fluctuates a little bit each year. We've been members for quite a while. Metro Education Leaders Network and other professional development. You may recall last year we moved away from the Principal Academy, so our participation in this one is reduced, and we're looking at different ways that we're supporting the principals and assistant principals. Each year, though, we've got Knowledge Bowl student program, Para-Pro assessment. That's on an as-needed basis, so last year we had 3, the year before we didn't have any. Assistive technology, again, this fluctuates as an as-needed basis for students assistive technologies for students with special needs, and they really provide training and tech tools that help with that. We do the annual class size study, and this is so helpful, allows us in Columbia Heights Public Schools to compare our class sizes to many other school districts in the metro area in all of the different areas. And then, as I mentioned before, cooperative purchasing at a reduced rate. Looking at this upcoming school year, we're really interested in the statewide partnership for concurrent enrollment, Knowledge Bowl, Success Beyond the Classroom, and continuing to offer all of these other different pieces, Para-Pro, professional development, continuing with the class size study. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of the Success Beyond the Classroom programs. They're listed across the top. These are programs, extra programs for students. Some of them are for elementary, some are middle, and some are high school. So the Young Authors Conference. So at the middle school right now, we have we received the literacy coach grants for literacy coaches, and we received the Minnesota Writing Project grant last year for professional development. So I think we're really poised to tap into a program like this with the Young Authors Conference. So you can see it's a one-day field trip for students at Bethel University, and they have it's a professional conference for our young people. With a keynote address and then interactive writing sessions led by local authors and local professional writers. It's really exciting. So that's something that we'll be working with the principals on scheduling and the teachers to prepare for something like that. Another program I wanted to highlight is STEMLink, a one-day career and higher ed immersion field trip for students in 5th and 6th grade. So again, This is where STEM careers come to life. They bring in professionals from around town, and kids get to interact with different folks in STEM. So, you know, in class, if they're doing robotics, well, how does that truly translate into a career in real life, for example? And then, as you can see across the top, they're all just as fascinating, in my opinion. Okay, concurrent enrollment. As you know, we have a partnership with Anoka Ramsey. We're able to offer college classes right here at home at the high school for free. Kids don't have to travel off campus to get them. However, the Higher Education Board, national, has a lot of requirements for teachers, K-12 or high school teachers, to be eligible to teach the college level as well. So it's, for example, a master's degree plus 18 additional credits in that specific content area. And oftentimes, as educators will get a master's degree in education, but the higher ed folks are looking for a master's degree in biology or in math or some, very specific. So our high school teachers have been taking additional courses, finding other programs to add on to their what they already have in their educational background. So through Metro EXU, our staff will be able to tap into these scholarships and make that process that much easier. So each of our high school teachers, if they aren't already approved, they have a plan that they can work towards. There's a bit of a reprieve there, and they're working diligently towards that. And so something like this really, really helps so that we can continue to offer that program an opportunity for our students. So I'm very excited about this. The membership is very low cost. I think this may have changed about $100 from the previous year. So it's a flat rate of $700 plus 90 cents per pupil based on our October 1st count, which brings us to $3,758.20. So on October 27th, I will be back seeking your approval to approve this membership with Metro EXU. I do find it, and I think our teachers, our students, and other staff members find value added in being a part of this program.
Questions?
I have more of a comment. I've been the Metro EXU representative, I think, for the past 2 years. And I find value in what they provide to the district. And I'm really excited to see you highlight some of the success beyond the classroom pieces. At the annual meeting this year, they really kind of delve deeper into some of those opportunities. And I got really excited. I know Superintendent Kelly was there, and we both got really excited about some of those opportunities. And I would really like to see our district become more involved in some of, especially the Young Authors Conference and some of the other Creative Con and some of the stuff that they really have available. It's right here and it's available for our students. So I was excited to see you highlight that as well. So keep pushing some of those things too.
I would like to add, this is an and to your comments, in that originally we had some questions about when ties went away, what would be the involvement with Sourcewell, and would that be something we may not want to get involved in? But truly, there's two members from the board that sit on the Sourcewell board in an advisory capacity. They're not responsible for the operational management. And what it has done is the money that is being infused into EXU really helps the lift, so we can have more opportunities for kids in the organization. So it's all working out just very well.
Anybody else? So what we're paying for the membership, the value you consider to exceed that?
I really do, yes.
Okay. Thanks, Nina.
Thanks.
Next up is the AMSD membership, Vice Chair Severson.
Well, I don't have a fancy slideshow, and I feel like I'm asking for the same thing, but I don't have a slideshow, but I did pull up our core values, and I'm going to go with collaboration and excellence on this one. But I've sat on the AMSD board with Superintendent Kelly for 1.5 years now. You've been on it much longer than that. I'm newer. But what Association of Metropolitan School Districts, it's the acronym, they do extensive work with the state legislature. I think that's kind of the foremost. And you're hearing about all these organizations we're a part of. If you're watching this, or if you're here, you're hearing about NSBA, National School Board Association, that's the national level. MSBA, Minnesota School Board Association, that's the state level. And then we have this EXU, which is like a collaborative system, grouping of local school districts. Well, this is for metropolitan school districts. And what they do is a lot of their work comes with the state legislature. They actually generate a list of priorities for schools in the metropolitan area. They not only generate this list, but they hold them out in front of the legislature. It seems like in a necessarily badgery way, in a way that we don't have necessarily the ins to do. And they push to get those things made into law or written into the budget for those years. They also give us access to those representatives, bringing them into their board meetings. So we have access to representatives who aren't ours, too, to hear what's happening from people who aren't just our representatives. And then they do actually give us some really helpful other collaborative information as I think about how e-learning days are really coming on the radar for school districts. They were really on point by offering other school districts to come in who've really been forerunners in this and offering their input on this and something for us to learn from. And I heard I missed a fabulous demographics talk. When I was unable to attend the meeting on Friday, they totally nerded out in my geographical data category, so I'm very sad I was unable to attend. But it's things like that. And so as we're talking now, and I think I have the invoice in front of me, it's a flat rate of $8,687, right? That's it. And that's an increase of $203 from last year to do this. I think given the voice they have with the state legislature and the educational pieces they provide for us, I think it's a good value. It also creates networking opportunities for Superintendent Kelly, an opportunity to interact with other superintendents. So unlike without a presentation, I do think it's a good value add, but wondering if y'all have any questions.
No, just a comment. I also know that it's a tremendous resource for being able to answer questions about policy and changes in statute that often they're able to analyze and send out the recommendations before we even get information from the Minnesota School Board, Minnesota School Board Association.
And you think
so
of,
it's another wonderful resource. So.
Sorry for interrupting. You think of a typical state person in the state legislature, right? They're elected into office, and they don't know all the ins and outs of all these things, particularly education. Think about the steep learning curve we've had as school board members, learning about school funding and like the special education cross subsidy that we talk about all the time. None of us had heard that term maybe before I got on a school board, and as I talk to community members and I talk about this special education cross subsidy, they're like, well, huh? And these are the same folks who are getting elected to these offices. And so AMSD seems to be doing a job of teaching them what that really means and the implications of something like a special ed cross subsidy. So it seems they're doing some good work, and they're getting the representatives from both sides of the aisles into their meeting to come and talk. So, yeah.
That'll be coming back as an action item on the 27th as well. Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay. We'll keep moving forward. Thanks, Natty. We move on to our action items, which is the Minnesota School Board Association membership. Natty took the time to talk about acronyms, which is appreciative. Then there is the Minnesota School Board Association, the national. I think there's a lot of benefits from this, and I think everybody at the table is certainly familiar with what MSBA does for us. But the thing that pops into my mind almost instantly is just the policy stuff that they provide for us. They go through after legislative changes. They make sure they actually provide us with a draft policy. And it allows our administration to go through, compare what we had, and obviously legislative changes are made, but it allows us to stay current and up to date on our policies. And to me, that's a huge one, and I think that that's an extra $700 for the policy review in addition to the membership. But we've used this for our board training, for our professional development. There's conferences that are made available, which is a topic we had not too long ago about taking advantage of some of the things that are out there, whether it be at the state level or the national level. But I guess, I feel this has been a valuable membership for us, and it's up for approval tonight, so I guess what I'd like to do is get a motion, a second, then open it up if anybody has any questions or comments, so. Start with
So moved.
Molly
Second.
and Natty, and I'll open it up to comments, questions, discussion. Oh, I should probably tell you it's in your board book there, but the membership is $8,462. The policy is 700, was 685 last year, so the total will be $9,162 with the policy review part of it attached.
I would just echo, sorry.
You.
I would just echo what you said. It's super valuable for us, the learning opportunities, the board development, and then especially the policy stuff. So I have no problems moving forward.
And we use them, we don't have, I guess we do have to use them for when new board members come on for all the required training that's required by the state.
And I
so.
think of how they're paying people to comb through the new legislation every year, so they're paying attorneys and specialists to look through those things, and then they're offering the feedback on a very, very reduced rate compared to us hiring an attorney to comb through it all. And then we can just use our attorneys to help us with our own individual tweaks to our policies, so it's a huge money saving in that regard.
Exactly.
And the leadership conference, and that is a perk of this, because that is free with the membership.
Yeah, and they do offer a lot of different things as far as professional development, so, okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, all's in favor of approving the membership, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. I'll open it up to board topics. Anybody have anything for board topics?
Just to be clear, depending on which portion of your packet you hit first, convocation is on Wednesday, the 28th.
It said the 29th at one point in your,
Little typo.
It's 2 Wednesdays in a row,
I
right?
had
It was
on
a
the calendar,
typo,
so-
2 Wednesdays.
and it was
2
written
Wednesdays in a
right,
row.
once
Okay.
one way, once the other. Just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure.
correct, yep, the new teacher, I don't know what you call it, introduction.
21st of April.
Induction is on the Wednesday
20th.
before, and then the following Wednesday is convocation.
21st, yes.
21st and 28th. Yep.
That I have on my calendar.
Okay.
21st is convocation.
No, 21st is the new teacher induction,
That's
And
quick,
then-
8 to 9.
and the 28th is the convocation.
That starts at 9:30.
The convocation, yes.
Can we do the scavenger hunt this year? Yes, you can.
Anybody else for board topics? Hearing none, we'll adjourn the meeting at 8:30.